the largest police union in the United States, took some time to condemn Donald Trump's decision to pardon all January 6 defendants despite endorsing him.
I've got concerns with any pardons for people who did harm to a police officer, full stop.
A very enthusiastic Donald Trump has announced the Stargate AI infrastructure project. Now, what is that? Well, his new right-hand man, Elon Musk, has poured cold water on it.
Any regrets?
No, I don't, because we did the right thing. We were there to protect Trump supporters from Antifa. We were there to protect and secure 2 permitted events on Capitol grounds where members of Congress were going to speak. The guys that went inside did not commit any crimes. In fact, they helped people. They helped the police and helped the people out.
He says he has no regrets. What do you say, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I would say to Stuart Rhodes. Go yourself.
Wow. Well, incredibly strong words from former Capitol Police Officer Michael Fanone following President Donald Trump's decision to offer sweeping pardons to nearly every January 6 rioter who had been charged with crimes related to that day or even convicted of crimes related to that day. Now, of course, the big controversy here is the fact that these sweeping pardons also apply to individuals who had carried out assaults on police officers on January 6th, and Fanone was among those police officers. He was assaulted on that day, but he isn't the only one who's furious about this. So yesterday, the largest police union in the United States took some time to condemn Donald Trump's decision to pardon all January 6 defendants despite endorsing him in the presidential campaign. And I want to be clear, Donald Trump does have the backing of law enforcement agencies and of the police unions. This is definitely one of the police unions that we're talking about here that backed Donald Trump, but they felt the need to speak out against his decision to pardon the violent offenders on January 6th. And I commend them for doing so, because I also agree that pardoning individuals who carried out acts of violence sends a bad message. And if we're against criminal coddlers on the left, and certainly the right wing loves to speak out against that, they should be against criminal coddling on the right as well. So let's get to the statement offered by the Fraternal Order of Police and the International Association of Chiefs of Police. They say that the IACP and FOP are deeply discouraged by the recent pardons and commutations granted by both the Biden and Trump administrations to individuals convicted of killing or assaulting law enforcement officers. The IACP and FOP firmly believe that those convicted of such crimes should serve their full sentences. I'm not really understanding what they're referring to in regard to Biden pardoning people who assaulted police officers, because Biden didn't do that. Biden did pardon members of his own family preemptively. We spoke out against that. We think that that sets a horrible precedent. He pardoned his son Hunter Biden when he had been on the record multiple times promising that he would not do so. So if they want to condemn him for that, that's totally fine, and I agree. But in regard to pardoning individuals who assaulted police officers, Donald Trump did that. More on that though, they say in the rest of their statement, when perpetrators of crimes, especially serious crimes, are not held fully accountable, it sends a dangerous message that the consequences of attacking law enforcement are not severe, potentially emboldening others to commit similar acts of violence. The IACP and FOP call on policymakers, judicial authorities, and community leaders to ensure that justice is upheld by enforcing full sentences, especially in cases involving violence against law enforcement. Now, on a local level, what conservatives point to in regard to soft on crime treatment toward individuals who assault police officers, they're usually talking about what happened during some of the riots that broke out during the BLM protests. But if there was soft on crime treatment toward those individuals, that was on a local and state level, not on a federal level. So maybe that's what they were referring to when they referenced Joe Biden. But again, what really spurred this statement and this reaction from the largest police union in the United States was the fact that Donald Trump decided to do these sweeping pardons rather than offer pardons on a case-by-case basis. That was what Trump had promised to do leading up to the election, and he didn't follow through on that. He just did the sweeping pardons. Now, about 140 officers, police officers from the US Capitol Police and DC Metropolitan Police were injured on January 6th, and the attack has been linked to people dying as a result. Now, we're also learning some pretty damning new details about why it is that Donald Trump decided to carry out sweeping pardons as opposed to pardons on a case-by-case basis. So President Trump's sweeping pardons for 1,500 January 6 criminals and defendants were a last-minute rip the bandage off decision to try to move past the issue quickly. White House advisors familiar with the Trump team's discussions tell Axios. So apparently 8 days before Inauguration Day, JD Vance went on Fox News and said that January 6th, people who have been convicted of crimes on January 6th, who assaulted police officers, obviously should not be pardoned. Originally, Trump's team actually did set out to do pardons on a case-by-case basis, just review each case and decide whether or not an individual deserves a pardon. But according to Axios, that process was considered onerous and time was running out heading into Inauguration Day. Trump wanted to pardon as many people as possible and get it over with. So he landed on clemency for everyone. Trump just said, F it. Release them all, an advisor familiar with the discussion said. So because he wanted to be seen making a bold statement on day one of his presidency, day one in office, he decided to skip over individual cases and just issue a blanket pardon. And naturally, many of Donald Trump's diehard allies and supporters are absolutely thrilled about this. Some Republican lawmakers are also defending Donald Trump's decision without quite endorsing it. Take a look.
The president has the pardon and commutation authority. It's his decision, and I think what was made clear all along is that peaceful protests and people who engage in that should never be punished. The president's made his decision. I don't second guess those, and yes, it's kind of my ethos, my worldview. We believe in redemption. We believe in second chances. If you would argue that those people didn't pay a heavy penalty, having been incarcerated and all of that's up to you. But the president's made a decision. We move forward. There are better days ahead of us. That's what we're excited about. We're not looking backwards, we're looking forward.
Well, I said what I just said before, and that is we're not looking backwards, we're looking forward.
Leaders, do you have any concerns with Trump pardoning the January 6th prisoners, including the ones who attacked police?
Look, he talked about that during the campaign. Joe Biden said he wouldn't pardon a lot of the people that he did pardon yesterday. President Trump's a man of his word. He's going to follow through on his commitments.
Do you have concerns about it at all?
Well, if you look at what we're focused on, obviously today, our meeting was focused on getting our economy back on track.
Do you agree with President Trump's decision to pardon these violent people and releasing them from jail?
If they were truly violent, no, but do I know that they were? I don't know that.
What do you mean you don't know that? We're showing the footage on the air right now.
Bro, they're on camera. The B-roll is on air as you are denying that. That was amazing. That last clip in the compilation was amazing. But I want to just quickly go back to Speaker Mike Johnson saying, we're looking forward. We're looking forward. We just want to move on. That's an interesting case to make, especially since Mike Johnson just announced that he's forming a new congressional committee to investigate January 6th and debunk any false narratives. Can we just move on? I get that our politicians are hyper-focused on performative politics, theater, rather than actually legislating, passing laws that need to be passed, dealing with reforms that need to happen. But the idea that they're moving forward, when in reality, they're creating a brand new congressional committee to investigate January 6th, just this time on the right-wing side, is insane to me. One clarification I want to make, there is a possibility that the police union, in referencing Biden, was specifically referencing the fact that he commuted the sentence of Leonard Peltier, who was imprisoned for killing 2 FBI agents back in the 1970s. He had been in prison since then. He's in his 80s now, and Biden decided to commute his sentence. I'm guessing maybe that's who they were referring to, but I wanted to quickly make that clarification in case that is what they were saying. But let's move on to other Republicans who are actually condemning Donald Trump's move in pardoning the violent offenders associated with January 6th. Let's take a look.
I do not support the pardons if they were given to people who committed violent crimes.
I've got concerns with any pardons for people who did harm to a police officer, full stop. And I've also got serious concerns with all of the pardons by President Biden.
I'm uncomfortable with all of it.
Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, who told me, I am a big back the blue guy. I think people who assault police officers, if they do the crime, they should do the time.
I mean, I agree with those lawmakers. And by the way, I would agree with any lawmakers who release statements like that in regard to a Democratic president who has pardoned or commuted the sentences of individuals on the left who assaulted police officers. We have to draw a clear distinction between violent criminals and those who might have broken the law but didn't engage in violent acts. I think there is a distinction there that's really important to focus on. And it seems the majority of Americans actually agree with the dissenting Republicans, because a Reuters Ipsos poll that closed on Tuesday found that 58% of respondents felt that Trump should not have pardoned those convicted of crimes for January 6th. Another poll from before Donald Trump took office yielded very similar results. Let's take a look at this. This is a graph put together by NPR, and this poll conducted earlier this month found that 62% of Americans disapproved of Trump pardoning people involved in the January 6th insurrection, 89% of Democrats and 62% of independents, and even 30% of Republicans disapproved of the pardons. Nonetheless, Trump continued to defend his decision when pressed about it last night. Take a look.
You would agree that it's never acceptable to assault a police officer,
Sure.
right? So then if I can, among those you pardoned, DJ Rodriguez, he drove a stun gun into the neck of a DC police officer who was abducted by the mob that day. He later confessed on video to the FBI and pleaded guilty for his crimes. Why does he deserve a pardon?
Well, I don't know. Was it a pardon? Because we're looking at commutes and we're looking at pardons. Okay, well, we'll take a look at everything. But I can say this, murderers today are not even charged. You have murderers that aren't charged all over. You take a look at what's gone on in Philadelphia, take a look at what's gone on in LA, where people murder people and they don't get charged. These people have already served years in prison, and they've served them viciously. It's a disgusting prison. It's been horrible. It's inhumane. It's been a terrible, terrible thing.
I want them all to be in prison. I don't want to, like, it's ridiculous to look at pardons or soft on crime treatment from members of the right in order to justify soft on crime treatment by members of the left. How about it's all bad? How about people who pose a threat, a public safety threat to society, should probably be locked up, should probably face the full consequences of the acts that they engaged in. So I just, look, for me, that's the clear distinction. I'm not one of these people who wants to like imprison nonviolent offenders for the rest of their lives for nonviolent offenses. And that includes people who might have walked into the Capitol building following, those rushing into it and breaking in. I just, if someone has carried out acts of violence, there needs to be a clear message sent to them and to society at large that it's unacceptable. And so pointing to soft on crime treatment in some of the liberal run cities across the country doesn't justify, in my opinion, what Donald Trump did in issuing these sweeping pardons of individuals who carried out acts of violence against police officers on January 6th. That's my view on it. Obviously, the majority of Americans, based on the polling, also agree with me. And I'm really happy to see that, because I don't think it's healthy to have the type of culture that justifies violence as long as it's carried out by your preferred political group.
It's my honor to welcome 3 of the world's leading technology CEOs. And in the case of Larry Ellison, it's well beyond technology, sort of CEO of everything. But to announce the largest AI infrastructure project by far in history, and it's all taking place right here in America.
A very enthusiastic Donald Trump has announced the Stargate AI infrastructure project. Now, what is that? Well, his new right-hand man, Elon Musk, has poured cold water on it So before we get to Elon Musk's jabs, which I thought were fascinating, let's get to some of the details about what Stargate is and what Trump is planning. So the Stargate AI infrastructure project is apparently a team effort that involves 3 separate companies and investments in AI infrastructure by the 3 separate companies. So each of their CEOs were actually present during Donald Trump's press conference announcing this. And they include OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son, and Oracle chairman Larry Ellison. Now, as part of this project, the 3 companies intend to invest $100 billion to power the physical and virtual infrastructure of AI. And to be sure, AI is going to require quite a bit of energy. Okay, so the investment into Stargate is supposed to potentially increase to $500 billion in the coming years. And I want to be clear, based on the way this was announced and based on the reporting of this project, the money isn't going to come from taxpayers. These are investments that these separate companies are supposed to make into AI infrastructure in the country. So initially that investment will be used to build they're gonna build a 1 million square foot data center in Texas, but it's really not clear what comes after that. So some of the details are sparse, but here's what we do know so far. The project is expected to create 100,000 US jobs, according to Trump. That's what he's claiming. AI technology does need a massive amount of resources in order to function, particularly when it comes to energy. So according to a report that just came out by the Department of Energy, in 2023, US data center energy use accounted for 176 terawatt hours, 4.4% of all total electricity consumption nationwide, or more than the total amount consumed by all households in California. That is insane, okay? But there's more. By 2028, according to the same report, scientists estimate that power center energy use will be between 325 and 580 terawatt hours per year, roughly 6.7 to 12% of all US electricity consumption, or the amount that 30 to 53 million households currently use. And this might be an issue for Americans when it comes to their own personal electric bills, because a November study from the Jack Kemp Foundation, a public policy nonprofit, found electric bills could increase by up to 70% due to AI data center energy demands. And they do require large amounts of water for cooling and other purposes. So in 2014, data centers indirectly used more than 5.6 billion gallons of water for cooling and other energy purposes. According to the new Energy Department report, that indirect water footprint swelled to more than 211 billion gallons in 2023, more water than 1.76 million US households use per year. I can already see your head exploding in regard to this, especially because I'm sure you're thinking about the climate-related ramifications.
Yeah, and so look, it's complicated because as you pointed out, the government has very little to do with any of this, which is why I sort of felt it was weird that it's like this big, like Fox News, like Trump announced, and so I was like, oh, well, look, I have a lot of issues with AI and everything, but I guess it's a big investment, it's a big infrastructure thing, and we've been like begging him to do something with infrastructure his whole time he was president, and so I was digging into it, and I was like, well, we're not putting any money into it, which I guess is good, theoretically. The only government involvement is he says he's going to try to ease regulations to help them set up the infrastructure in different states.
Right.
Which I guess is something, but we don't have much to do with this. Which also means that if we think this is a bad idea, it's not like Trump is unilaterally doing it. They're just building a big thing. They were gonna do that anyway. And so they were probably gonna do it under Biden. That said, you could regulate this sort of thing if you thought it was going to wreck the nation's energy costs and everything. That's terrible. You could regulate that. You could do something about the water, certainly about the emissions. Obviously, those are not going to be concerns under Donald Trump. Maybe they wouldn't have been under Biden either. He wanted, or he put out that memo warning against AI and stuff like that. But in terms of the emissions, Trump isn't going to do literally anything to limit that. I doubt he's gonna care about the energy costs.
I mean,
and it's gonna be affecting Texas the most initially, so conservative Texans' energy costs are probably gonna go up significantly.
Look, I do see the development of AI, and there is a race between the United States and China to dominate AI, right? And so that competition is very much front and center in regard to what Donald Trump is thinking and how he wants to help facilitate the development, future development of AI in America. But obviously, I do see that tension between the energy required for AI, the computing required for AI to work effectively, and what is happening to our environment and what climate goals entail. Now, the fact of the matter is, like, China is gonna compete with us and they're not gonna worry about climate change at all in the process. And so that's frustrating. But I think that you could also generate clean electricity and develop AI without really sacrificing anything as it pertains to climate change, right? So like we've talked a little bit about nuclear energy, and I really do think that that's a possible solution. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's good that you bring that up. I mean, look, China obviously has used a lot of coal.
Yeah.
And probably will for some time, but they also are doing everything they can to lead in clean energy production, solar panels and all that. And we know that Donald Trump has this bizarre ideological opposition to clean energy, probably because of the donors, the fossil fuels and all that. But among the many other executive orders that he did in his first suite was trying to dial back our investment, like the EV tax credits. He's going to hamstring American automakers in terms of catching up with China in building EVs. It's gonna be devastating to a lot of people, a lot of conservatives as well that work in that industry. And also, he wants to do everything he can to stop solar and wind power from being developed. When we need that more than ever now, if you're gonna be doing these massive, like you could say, we'll allow you to build these data centers, but you also have to invest in enough clean energy generation to offset a significant percentage of what you're taking up, so that it's not cost. But you could do that, and then maybe while we're leading the way in AI, we could also be leading the way in clean energy. And that would be good for industry, and it would generate jobs. But this is one of the issues, and there's not a lot of areas, not a lot of them for Donald Trump, where it could do all of those things. It could economically be great, but he just has this tiny weird little problem with it that won't let him see past it, even though he's buddies with Elon Musk.
Well, let's get to Elon Musk, because that's where the story gets super juicy. Now, before we talk about this little tiff that Elon Musk has with Altman, which is really at the center of the jabs that Musk is taking here, I just want to note that the cash is talking. Okay, when it comes to Donald Trump and his willingness to play ball with, the tech CEOs who are really trying to build out the energy centers in order to pursue AI. OpenAI spent $1.76 million on government lobbying in 2024 and $510,000 in the last 3 months of the year alone, according to a new disclosure filed on January 22nd, a significant jump from 2023 when the company spent just $260,000 on Capitol Hill. So anyway, I just wanted to give you those numbers because that's how the sausage is really made in government. That's what persuades politicians to play ball with industry. And so that's definitely taking place as it pertains to Donald Trump and the AI industry. Now, let's get back to Elon Musk and Altman, because Musk absolutely did rain on the Stargate parade almost immediately. In response to a post from OpenAI announcing the project, Musk wrote this: "They don't actually have the money." Okay. In response to that, Sam Altman, who is in a bit of a feud with Elon Musk, says, "I genuinely respect your accomplishments and think you are the most inspiring entrepreneur of our time."
Gross.
I think he was being sarcastic. I doubt that he was being serious.
Oh, I thought he was trying to be a diplomat. I feel like he's done that before with him, but you could be right, I don't know him.
Yeah, there's real tension between the two. So Musk posted another statement that reads, "SoftBank has well under $10 billion secured. I have that on good authority." Okay, and Sam Altman disagreed with that, saying, "Wrong, as you surely know. Want to come visit the first site already underway? This is great for the country. I realize what is great for the country isn't always what's optimal for your companies, but in your new role, I hope you'll mostly put America first." So look, it is worth noting that Elon Musk and Altman have feuded for some time now. In fact, Musk has sued Altman and did so last year. So Musk was a co-founder of OpenAI, which was originally a nonprofit. Musk claims that he has issues now because it went from being a nonprofit to being a hybrid, like using a hybrid model. So it's a for-profit, nonprofit hybrid. The for-profit subsidiary of OpenAI is fully controlled by the nonprofit part of OpenAI, and the company's board is still that of a nonprofit. Elon Musk's lawsuit, though, claims that Altman assured Musk that the nonprofit structure guaranteed neutrality and a focus on safety and openness for the benefit of humanity, not shareholder value. But as it turns out, this was all hot air philanthropy, the hook for Altman's long con. Okay, but then get a load of these people. Musk alleges that OpenAI abandoned its principles when it entered into its multi-billion-dollar partnership with Microsoft. And so he left OpenAI's board back in 2018 prior to the company's partnership with Microsoft. But then Musk went on to make his own AI company called xAI, which is for profit.
But cooler because there's an X in it.
True.
Or sexier, I can't tell which he's trying to go for, probably both.
It'll make all the difference. Yeah, it sounds like Musk is a little salty here.
Yeah, 100%, and he always has been. And so that's the weird thing about him being like he's in the shadow cabinet, is that like theoretically he wants to work with Trump, but he also obviously cares a million times more about his own companies. And so Trump just wants to have this day where he's standing with tech billionaires and they're mostly doing their own thing, but he's not stopping it, I guess. So he gets some of the credit. And then Elon Musk comes in and torpedoes it in the same way that Donald Trump just wanted to get inaugurated and Musk decided, no, this is about me, I'm gonna zig heil on the stage. Screw you, buddy, this is my day. And how many times do you get to do that before Donald Trump is done with you? And so do they have the money? I don't know, maybe they don't. Maybe Musk is right, or maybe Musk is doing what he constantly does on Twitter, which is say whatever he has to say, whether it's a lie or not, to prop up stock price of his company. He's done that many times before, illegally done that before and not gotten any trouble because he's wealthy and well connected. And so I don't know whether to trust any of these numbers that are being thrown around. Some of them sound pretty good, if setting up these data centers produces 100,000 jobs rather than just taking all of our jobs with the AI that they generate, which is the long con that they're doing, then that would be great. But will it? Or is it like how when they build a pipeline, it takes a lot of jobs, and then once it's built, it's 30 people. It's like a Denny's staff that runs the thing. I don't think of data centers as being a super labor-intensive industry in an ongoing way. And also, they didn't even say that. Trump said that. Well, remember when Trump got in office the last time, he was like, I'm gonna do all this stuff, get all these businesses back, this air conditioning company's gonna build the plane. They didn't do any of that. He just says it. He's got that in common with Elon Musk. They know they can say whatever they want, it'll make headlines, and then if it doesn't happen, whatever, that's 1,000 Hitler salutes ago. We don't even remember that anymore. And so some of it sounds good, but I don't know who to trust, either on the political side or on the CEO side.
Oh man, that is a difficult game to play, right?
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.